is in terms of how widespread ketamine use is and how it's growing?
I don't know a problem. I mean, it kind of depends on what constitutes a real problem. Like, I don't see, there are definitely people who are developing dependence on ketamine. There are people that have bladder problems. It's not particularly widespread compared to something like cirrhosis from alcoholism or something like that. So again, it comes down to this almost political question of, is the problem great enough that it will result in a crackdown that will prevent anyone from accessing ketamine? That's the kind of the question I have. Of course, I'm also would like to minimize people harming themselves as much as possible. And it's hard for me, particularly because I've always had this laissez-faire attitude toward other people's drug use. This sort of prescriptivist mentality is not something that I have ever been particularly fond of. And so I talk to lots of people who are very alarmed by ketamine telemedicine and the Instagram ads and all of this sort of stuff. I'm certainly alarmed when I see lying. That I don't like. You know, for example, if people are selling this on the basis of it being natural, which I mentioned earlier, that rubs me the wrong way, certainly. But when it comes to widespread access, I'm broadly in favor of that as long as everyone can agree that they understand the risks and they're okay with it. I mean, you know, with the kind of more publicized, supposedly ketamine associated negative events, the death of Matthew Perry and the recent New York Times expose about Elon Musk's ketamine use. In both instances, I don't think that the connection is as well supported as one might hope. With Matthew Perry, he drowned in a hot tub while intoxicated, but that's something that's sometimes referred to as behavioral toxicity. And this was the case with most of the PCP deaths in the 1970s. It wasn't people smoking PCP and then dying from an overdose. It was actually an enormous number of people drowning. That was a very common way for people to die, and they call that behavioral toxicity. Somebody is intoxicated, they run into the ocean, and they drown. It's not a direct pharmacological effect of the drug, although it is a drug-mediated problem in a complicated way.